I have never seen an election quite like this one, where stage presence has meant so much. So what are the elements that make us, that draw us to certain leaders and not others? A lot of it is nonverbal. So it's not what you say exactly, it's how you say it, how you look when you say it, and even how you present physically before you even say anything at all. There are things that politicians do that help bolster their own leadership style. So Marco Rubio, very interestingly, wears high-heeled boots. He's very honest about this. The audience knows the trick of elevating one's height. Politicians have always done that. They've stood on platforms to look taller. The taller candidate generally wins, after all. So again, that physical presence makes a difference. All of these tricks of the trade, if you want to call them that, some of them being very natural things that human beings do when they manage the impressions they give us, they have an impact on the person themselves. So I'll bet Rubio feels a bit more powerful when he's standing tall in those high-heeled boots. And I would also guess that the more a politician speaks something, says something, makes a case for something, makes an argument, the more they believe it. We know this from many studies that have been done in social psychology that show that once you start to argue for something, your brain starts to believe it, even when you don't originally start from that position. My Colgate University students and I have studied gestures, and we have noted that Donald Trump does a lot of these gestures quite well. The knitting of the eyebrows is associated with dominance. The two-handed, palms shown, bringing in the whole audience adds to a person's charisma. The interesting thing about these gestures is that they have an impact on the audience. So the audience catches the emotions and the power of the person standing on the stage. But the person standing on the stage also catches those emotions. There's no one more vulnerable to that than Donald Trump. The only thing that sets him off his track is a boo in the audience. Now, when the audience is approving, it raises the confidence of the person on the stage, be it a Donald Trump, a Bernie Sanders, a Hillary Clinton, any of them. So that social acceptance is very important to anyone who takes the stage and wants to be a politician. Donald Trump looks at his audience and he sees a tribe. And he plays on the idea that there are his people and there are outsiders. And that plays well among people who have their greatest concerns relate to outsiders. Immigrants coming into the country illegally, terrorists coming into the country, law and order, those kinds of things. Those kinds of issues resonate really well with conservatives and Republicans. Donald Trump has a way of bringing together an audience so they feel like a we. At some of his events, you can tell that he enjoys a heckler and throwing that heckler out. There's a wonderful demonstration of the we-they that he projects onto the audience by throwing out the heckler.
All right, yeah, get him the hell out of here, will you, please? Get him out of here. Throw him out.
And the other thing he does is he expresses amazing confidence in himself and his positions, or even the thought about his positions. It doesn't even have to be a position that he's got very well defined. He exudes confidence. He exudes strength. He does this with a lot of anger. And that anger actually transmits automatically to the audience. And we feel that anger. We catch it. It's infectious. What anger does is blunt our interest in looking deeply at policy. What fear does is increase our motivation to look at the specifics of a policy. Look who's doing better. It's the angry politicians. It's the Donald Trump. It's the Bernie Sanders. The nonverbal aspect of this is so key because it's all that nonverbal feedback that makes the leader literally almost taller on stage and excites the audience. It's really an interesting feedback loop. And the very charismatic leaders are really great at this. They have a way of engaging the audience, of making the audience do things in synchrony. And it has the impact, and this has been shown in studies, of making the people in the room feel not as much as individuals, but more like a collective, a group. They have a common identity. There's a very dark side to all of this charisma that we study, my students and I. Leaders, the force of charisma can be used for good or evil when you stop to think about it. I mean, leaders lead us to good places and to bad places. And all of these nonverbal techniques are part of that.